So sorry, but I'm not taking off my glass.
Lockyer takes a shot. It's low. He's got it. I think he's got it.
Merlin, are you going to speak?
But for me, it was a winner. David.
Well, I'm afraid it wasn't for me, Margaret.
Thank God you're here. Grandma's been raped.
On. Welcome back to On the Air Tonight, the only free-to-air podcast reviewing free-to-air content that also doubles as ASMR.
Oh, I like that. That's a little NPR introduction.
Different vibe today.
Yeah.
Very NPR.
Yes, very calm. We've decided to put the headphones on again so we could hear ourselves speak, and we actually know the microphones are working.
Yeah. Some genius turned down the the level on the. Not naming names, not pointing fingers at any. Not you.
No.
Or anyone else in Trademark Studios.
Anyone else who uses this?
But microphone one was turned all the way down last week on Chopper Read. So apologies for the garbage audio last week.
The only people we can really blame is ourselves, because all we do is just roll in, watch something, slap some SD cards in, hit record. People ask me like, oh, what goes into actually making the show? I'm like, it's a long story, and I've just told it.
A lot goes into it, but we didn't do any of it.
No.
A lot went into this setup, making this and building it. We just kind of ride the coattails of that hard work.
Yes, yes. But we're back. You can hear us again properly. You don't have to listen to us in what sounds like just an empty Coke can.
You lucky ducks. We provide, we give, and we give, and we give.
So thank you.
Sometimes it's good.
Yes, absolutely. Sometimes it's bad, but you know what? That's just the luck you're going to get when you listen to
It's a lucky dip, isn't it?
when you're listening to the number one free podcast that reviews free-to-air television. Sometimes it's a mixed bag.
And I think you know what to expect.
Yes.
You know? Listen every third episode, you might hit gold.
Might be fool's gold, but it's still gold.
It's gold.
Yeah, if you didn't know, Tom and I are now co-workers together, different departments, but in the same pool.
Yeah. I told Jacob when he started, I was like, now you truly get a front row seat to how little work that I do.
You say that, but then also like every full staff meeting, we have a full staff meeting every Friday, and the only two that I've attended has just been a special shout out to the only man that seems to enjoy lockdown and working from home is Tom Farrelly, who's pulling in stupid amounts of money into the company. We can't thank him enough. Thank you so much, Tom. And Tom's on screen just like finishing his fucking 8th fucking Mountain Goat beer for the morning at 9 o'clock. Just like, hey, what? Is there a meeting on? This is you, Paul, mate.
The GM is like, how does he do it? He spends a quarter of the week hungover every single time.
I love your just bashful modesty. Just, oh, mate, there's a lot of luck that goes into this. I'm like, this is the second week in the row you've just been cleaning up. There's no luck involved.
It's all luck. I couldn't teach you a thing.
I hope you do.
Don't ask me. Don't ask me a single work question.
You've already showed me the way of how to actually get the levels right on a podcast.
Yeah. It's all learnings. It's all lessons from here. But I love it because Jacob's very much in his, I wouldn't say honeymoon period, but probationary period, I guess, where you're on your best behavior still. It's like your third week in the job.
Yeah, that's correct. Yeah. So time of recording, this is my third week in the role. So
yeah.
I'm becoming more loose as the days go on, but I'm still very much on my best behavior.
Yeah, which is nice. And you sit sort of 3 computers down from your boss.
Yeah.
Your boss.
Yes.
And I just love going over to your desk and being like, hey, because I have a boss who, shout out, I won't say his name.
You don't listen to this.
Shout out best boss in the world. But I'm on a very loose leash, if you know what I mean. And so I really just come over to Jacob's computer and go, hey,
mate,
what's going on?
That works for some. You know, for me, I'm a rabid dog that you've got to try and, I'm a rescue dog. You've got to try and hone in.
Yeah.
You're a pedigree greyhound at Geelong, mate. You got to let you off on a loose leash if you're going to place.
Yes,
which you do every week.
You're foaming at the mouth, sort of caged up for your own good.
I'm a rabid Shih Tzu.
Yeah,
you're the premium.
I'm a Saint Bernard.
Saint Bernards don't race, but
well, you know, prancing around the fashion show.
They do carry alcohol everywhere they go, so there's something in common.
There you go. So I'll walk over and just be like, Jacob, what's going on? Can we like stop for a yarn? You know, you're not busy, are you? And I'm like, have you looked at that thing I sent you yet? Just like, no, I'm in the middle of something.
Yeah, sending me links to houses that you're looking at. Oh, you check out this house on real estate. I'm like, and I
sent it 30 seconds earlier.
My body language as well. Like, if I'm sitting in front of my desk, if you're listening to this, I'm sitting at my desk. Tom kind of comes like behind my right shoulder, so I've got to like pivot around. But I'll usually have like one arm still on the desk, like. So,
how long is this chat gonna go for?
So, how's things been, Tom? And we doing a network talk? Should we book a meeting or?
Yeah, your boss is 3 meters away. Like, Jacob, you sure you can afford to be having that conversation on company time? I'm like, it's fine, Ellen. Don't worry about it.
Tom's just, hey, check that fucking link I sent you, dude. I'm like, oh, I saw it, but kind of working.
Yeah, all like work systems up on his dual monitor, like clearly in the thick of something important. I'm like, no, don't worry about that.
And I mean, to make matters worse, my direct report, Jace, shout out to Jace. He's actually leaving the company.
Shout out, Jace. We'll miss you.
I'm just like, I'll turn around and talk to you, and I'm like, he just gives me a look. He's like, I don't care. Like, I'm out of here, man. You can do whatever you want. I'm like, I'm not just going to be counterproductive, but I'm just having a nice friendly chat to someone in the office, getting to know the people.
Yeah, getting to know the guy I've known for 4 years. I'm just kind of, finding my feet around here.
Yeah, a lot of people ask me, they're like, oh, so how are you finding it so far? Have you made friends with anyone? I'm like, yeah, I'm pretty lucky that I already knew a few people before I started. They're like, oh, who? I'm like, oh, Tom Farrelly in radio. And they're like, oh, yuck.
Or who?
Hey.
How long's he been here?
The guy who'll be CEO in 2 years, all right? Watch your mouth.
Learn his name, okay?
Remember the mullet.
It's a new age modern company. Don't think a mullet can't be at the helm of the ship, okay?
I had to, slightly off topic, but I had to second guess myself because I thought that I didn't have your mobile number in my phone because I couldn't find it the other week and I was putting in Farrelly and I realized when I tried to call you today that I've just got you saved as Tom Mullet.
Yeah, and you called me to find my phone and I don't have your number.
Don't you?
No, it's just an 04 that pops
It's
up.
a very one-way relationship.
Tom the Mullet, like such a sweet name and then just nothing.
All right, dude.
I'm gonna save you as Jacob from work.
Yeah, nice.
That'd be good.
I mean, to be fair, you're still deciding on a nickname for me, so it's only fair that you haven't said my name yet. We'll say that's the reason.
We had a few suggestions.
Not just because you've got shit organisation skills.
Yeah, no, it's that as well. And we talk on Messenger mostly. But there's a few options that the OTAT, the POTATers have reached out and let us know about. Fanny Smeller.
Fanny Schmeller.
Fanny Schmeller. There's a H.
Poopy is obviously the first and foremost runner. I think there was a couple more, wasn't
Big
it?
Honey.
Big Honey was one.
Don't hate Big Honey.
Which I don't mind at all.
And then there was another nonsense one in there. I can't remember. I can't remember who sent it through. There are a few. So your big wheels.
Let's go with that. B-dub.
B-dub. So I'm just stoked to have another person that I can stand being around at work. That's nice.
Oh, mate.
Someone I genuinely like.
I honestly have enjoyed being there. But listen, honestly, on to bigger and better things. We may as well talk about some free-to-air content. Before we get into any sorts of reviews or anything that week, Tom had an anecdote about one of the cornerstones of free-to-air television for probably not the past couple of years, but for a good 15 years from, early 2000s to the late in the teens.
A bygone era for sure.
Yeah.
Our man, Andrew O'Keefe.
If you don't know who Andrew O'Keefe is, he's the man who was on Deal or No Deal, the great golden briefcase game.
Yeah. Get home from school. That was my memory of Andrew O'Keefe. Get home from school and he's in like the 3:45 slot.
Yep.
Where you'll find like hard quiz now. If you're home at 3:45 on a work day.
Some people are working really hard from home.
Which you shouldn't be.
You're doing research, even though you're in radio.
Yeah, I'm just, media monitoring is what I'm doing.
Yes.
Competitor monitoring. He was in that slot. You get home from school and Andrew O'Keefe is there. He's going, deal or no deal, no deal.
Rudely interrupting people.
Legs 11. Remember that whole meme?
Bingo. Yep.
Yeah, he was the man for a while. A video has resurfaced of the great Andrew O'Keefe. If you've been kept up with him at all over the last 10 years, he's been a bit of a checkered character. He says the N-word in an interview.
I can't believe this footage hasn't been surfaced more recently because
Yeah,
this is like
or gone larger.
this is probably what 2005, 2006. This and he's
He's a lot younger.
It was like I think him as like a talk show host.
You can find the clip on YouTube. He just drops the N-word in an interview, and the whole crowd. It's with a studio audience, apparently a live one because they didn't cut this out. And the whole crowd just goes, "Holy shit!"
Yeah, I mean it's still mid 2000s, so there's some Australians who are like,
Yeah.
he did the naughty. I love it.
It's not like saying it in 2021, but he fully fucking drops it. It's got a hard R. He's doesn't shy away from it at all.
I think it's a soft A.
The gumption on the delivery alone is like, whew,
Yeah,
you went for it.
It's one of those things where he's obviously trying to say something where he's like a bit of sass, like not for me.
Yeah, they're talking about the term whack, and he's like, whack used to mean shit.
No, and he's like, yeah, whack in my day was cool.
Yeah.
He's like, no, whack has always and still means bad.
Yeah, and then Andrew O'Keefe says to that, not where I'm from.
This is where we need Keith. Keith made a brilliant suggestion off tangent again, but Keith Slimcock, fan of the show and multiple applications as our producer, has said that we need to get a soundboard. So
Yes.
watch this space. We might look to ramp up the show with a soundboard in the short future.
Soundboard coming. The gem of a guy who he's interviewing just kind of handles it like a champ, and he's like, he does the cut, does the scissors. He's like, oh, cut it out.
I thought he was doing gang signs.
No, he's saying, cut it out, bro. He's like, oh yeah,
Go.
you're saying the N word. I can throw up Bloods and Crips. That's fine, right?
Yeah, I thought this was
Pull the fucking gun out. It's like, guess we're doing that now.
these ones.
So confused. Got your nose.
It's not a gang sign.
Said the N word. I don't know how to
We're
react.
gonna do patty cake now. Cut to an ad break.
Please.
I don't know what to do.
Let's arm wrestle.
I can only one up him, and there's only one word worse than that.
Yeah, literally. Like,
Donald Trump.
I'm not going to not yes and the guy. This is live improv. You said the N word. I've got to go deeper.
There's no way. I'm not helping you with your career, mate.
No. So that's incredibly awkward. And that just sent me down an Andrew O'Keefe YouTube rabbit hole. He's like I said, colourful character.
He was a host on Sunrise for a while as well, wasn't he?
Yeah, so that's what this clip was from. Search Andrew O'Keefe on YouTube and most of this will come up. But you remember Mark Latham?
Yes.
Yeah.
This is the clip that I thought about. Apart from Deal or No Deal, this is the clip that I always think about when I think of O'Keefe.
Yeah, so you obviously remember Mark Latham went on and it was the era of like political correctness is fucking taken over.
4 or 5 years ago.
Yeah, and Mark Latham's on there saying political correctness is
Gone too far.
gone too far, and basically arguing against domestic violence and saying that domestic violence isn't as big a deal as we're all making it out to be.
It's blown out of proportion.
Yeah, he's obviously like a right-wing politician with conservative views, and Andrew O'Keefe is playing the Mark, mate, DV is through the roof and it's so bad, and he's playing the left side of the argument. He's like, he's sticking up for domestic violence and women and saying political correctness isn't that bad. 5 years later, gets charged for
DV.
DV.
Yep.
It's like the beautiful irony of it all.
How ironic.
It's just crazy. It's I've seen in multiple scenarios, and I've heard someone else talk about this, but more often than not, the thing that you're like super passionate about or like railing against tends to be the thing that you yourself are guilty of.
Correct. Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Because you never want because as soon as someone tries to point the finger of blame on you for whatever it is in this circumstance, DV, it'd be like, how dare you? I've always been a champion for women.
Check YouTube. There's this clip of me talking about it with Mark Latham, and I stuck up for women.
All right, you know what? Just check yourself for one moment, right,
Yeah.
pal?
I've been railing against this for years. It's like when there's like a priest or someone who's like, oh, that film or that television advert is too provocative and it's like provokes homosexuality or pedophilia. Not to put those two next to each other.
Right, Kevin Spacey.
They're not in the same bracket at all. But there's always the guys who are railing against something like that, and it's like they always end up being the pedophiles themselves.
Oh yeah, the priests of the world, the Catholic priests. Yeah,
they're like, oh, I can't believe I would never go near a young boy. And it's like, you're a pedophile.
I also love. I don't know if it's that clip, but it might be that clip or a different interview. I think every single interview that Andrew O'Keefe has with someone on Sunrise is where he he'll do this thing where he'll ask them a question and then just start interrupting them like halfway through their response. So Mark Latham, I don't agree with his stance on, domestic violence and all those things, being a conservative right winger, but he would be making his political point, which is obviously something that's not only well thought out but well rehearsed. So coming off the cuff, it sounds natural. And some people might go, okay, I can see where he's coming from. And then Andrew O'Keefe just comes and is like, no, you just don't get it. You just don't get it, Mark. Yeah. Do you, mate? No, look, cut to an ad break. We're with this old psycho over here.
Yeah. And that's where this interview gets so fucking heated because it's just Mark Latham not taking any of Andrew O'Keefe's usual shit.
Yeah.
And it's just these two it's an immovable object meeting an unstoppable force.
Correct. Yeah.
Fucking
two
tyrants.
Two big stubborn wankers.
Yeah. And it's the most uncomfortable shit. And then the woman in the middle of Andrew O'Keefe and Mark Latham is just like, oh, can we please go to an ad?
Yeah, it just looks like perpetually sucking on a lemon.
Yeah, they've got Akmal Saleh on like
standby.
Yeah, on satellite. He's like in Melbourne, and then she's just like, all right, boys, I want to ask Akmal a question, and then the video cuts off.
Have you ever tried crossing the street when the traffic lights aren't going?
Yeah. I got into a cab the other day, and the guy said to me, "Mate, you should be driving."
Cut to an ad break.
That old like racist Indian humor that was his whole shtick.
Yeah.
Good bit, Akmal.
Yeah, got him on Thank God You're Here.
Yeah, he had a bit of a career out of it. And then the footy show.
So look, if you do like free-to-air content, like Andrew O'Keefe becoming the biggest hypocrite in Australian television, or if you like anything else about free-to-air content, be sure to give us a follow on Instagram, subscribe to our YouTube channel, and to make sure you keep up to date with everything OTAT related. And if you'd like to be one of our lucky audience members, leave a review so we can give you a quick shout out like this one here.
We've got a couple today.
We do.
We have obviously our resident reviewer, Papk.
Smoked paprika, part Australian, part Chinese.
I reckon you start off with the other one that we got, and we'll bring it home with Papk.
We also have he's known as Mick Bin Chicken Footy in his alias, but his initial review was he's taken the name Boat Boy, so you can refer to him as either. Boat Boy writes, "Howdy fellas, Boat Boy here. I don't know what Papk is on. Poops definitely is carrying this bitch. Can't remember the other guy's name. To be honest, the lack of sound quality this week made him more bearable. Just joshing. You're all right, Tim." Yep, that's his name.
I know that's an innocent type.
Love the pod, boys. Look forward to listening to it on most Fridays with a coffee and a smile. It's not. I spoke to him about this review. I went onto the street and spoke to one of our common men.
Some Vox Pops out there.
Yeah. And he said, no, I genuinely thought his name was Tim.
Okay,
he looks like a Tim.
He's a Tim-looking guy.
Tim the Tool.
I mean, I've met Mick Bin Chicken Footy multiple times. Know him on a first-name basis. Shaken his hand. Shared beers with him.
Not what I've heard.
Okay. I think maybe I misintroduced myself every single time that we met.
Yeah, do you know your own name, dude?
I think it's Tim Salary or something.
Tim Tam?
Yeah, I think it's Tim Tam.
It's Biscuit?
Biscuit boy. So, I mean, thanks for loving the show with a coffee and a smile every Friday, but only knowing half of it.
No, lovely review there. Thank you, Boat Boy.
Thanks, Boat Boy. We have one more review from the resident reviewer every single week, part Australian, part Chinese. 5 stars, 5 very big stars. You haven't heard this one yet either.
I haven't.
Great choice of Chopper Read as the subject material. Australians are fascinated by Ned Kelly types. Amazed the government used him in TV ad campaigns. I'd forgotten. Excellent analysis of the doco, and I'm not sure if I should watch it. Giving time to such an evil man. This podcast continues to draw me in each week. Hope the hosts of this podcast continue for many years to come. ... Retarded Papk out. Retarded Papk
As
out.
he's tarted himself again. He's eaten some more pastries, has he?
He did spell it with a D. I'm just being extra the word where you say things right.
Yep, okay. Yep.
You know what I'm trying to say?
I do know exactly what you're trying to say. And I think after last week, we were very liberal with a few terms. So Just trying to keep on top of your P's and Q's this episode. I back that.
And your T's and D's. This week, though.
This week, we jump back into the world of the Australian Broadcast Corporation. I believe that's what ABC stands for.
What'd you say? Australian Broadcast Corporation? Yeah, that's correct.
Excellent.
Just
Thank
double
you.
checking you.
No, thanks for vibe checking.
Got to keep you in line.
This is why we're a team. We dive back in for episode 35. We watched our second helping of Australian Story. It's just the buffet that we just keep going back for seconds for, honestly.
Can't stay away. It's that delicious.
It is. And when it's free, who can say no?
Not a single ad came with this delicious meal.
There's no line.
There's no line.
There's no one trying to fill you up on complimentary cheesy garlic bread and then go into receivership 15 years later because you got a shit business model.
There's none of that.
No.
There's no waiter in your face saying, "So, would you like fries with that? Would you like an extra? Would you like to tip?"
No.
No. I want my buffet and that's it.
Would you like to watch a documentary about Australia's most famous hitman with liver disease so he looks like a Simpsons character?
Yes, I'd like to watch that.
Yes, but after that, I'd like a quick dessert of Australian Story.
I think it's very fitting that I think episode 2, our episode 2.
Episode
Joel
2.
Edgerton.
Oh, no, it was episode 1 because we did Australian Story and Mastermind.
It's even more fitting than I thought. Episode 35, bringing it all the way back to episode 1. The Australian Story longbow. The rainbow finally comes into fruition.
You're absolutely right, except you're saying it as if this is the end of the rainbow.
I know, it does seem like that, doesn't it?
Yep. Somewhere over the rainbow, we go again.
There's something I'm not telling you. It's like, this is the last one. You guys just didn't know it.
If you just drop that on me, just mid-live recording.
Start on Oz Story, end on Oz Story. Sorry, bruh, I'm out.
Oh, that is poetic, but please don't leave me. Don't leave me.
Not quitting yet.
The hallways of work would get very awkward if you're like, yeah, I'm done, mate.
I'm done. You're like, I know no one here.
This week on Australian Story, we delve into the tale of Luke Longley. This is the Australian story called One Giant Leap. Backstory on Luke Longley: he is an Australian. Obviously, this is his story. He is a 7'2" gentle giant. He grew up in Fremantle and was part of arguably the greatest sporting team of all time, and one of the most popular sporting teams of all time. The 1990 Chicago Bulls for their second repeat, so from 96 to 98.
Yeah. No real hyperbole in saying could be one of the greatest sporting teams ever assembled.
No, not at all. It's. I mean, this documentary came on the back of The Last Dance, which is from a streaming service which we will not name.
Doesn't exist.
No, it does not exist. But this sporting team, the Chicago Bulls. If you're not much of a basketball watcher, you would definitely know the name Michael Jordan. I think everyone at some point knew who Michael Jordan was. Even before I knew there was a professional organized basketball as a sport, I knew who Michael Jordan was.
Well, you'd seen Space Jam.
I'd seen Space Jam. I had a red Chicago Bulls basketball in my house in Orderly, Brisbane in 1998.
There was probably one of those in every third home across the world at that point.
Absolutely.
At least the Western world.
Yep. And for like, don't want to delve into him too much, but Michael Jordan was such a cult of personality. He lived in the 90s when you had peak stars like Michael Jackson, Britney Spears. You had Macaulay Culkin in Home Alone. You had Bruce Willis in Die Hard. Mel Gibson in Lethal Weapon. There was a
John Cusack in a film in the night.
What I'm saying is
there were so many celebrities.
But I think it was the era where there was.
I'm following you. I'm with you.
Not just stars, but superstars,
Gotcha.
and this was the superstar of superstars.
Yes.
And also the team to end all teams.
Yeah, in an era when really we've gone into the death of the movie star and the death of the superstar in general, because everyone's a superstar now.
Correct.
I do get your point where back in the 90s, if you were big, you were fucking big.
Pre-social media,
Yeah.
everyone wanted to know exactly what you were doing, and like basketball wasn't really a global sport before the 90s. MJ really put it on the map as a global sport. And you could also say having a player who is from an international soil probably made it a global game.
Probably helped as well. Drew an Australian audience.
But enough of it.
That's exactly what the NBA obviously needed at that point, the massive Australian audience that's it was missing at the time.
Yeah, 22 million mongrels just going, fucking dunk the ball, you bastard.
I'll stay up till 3 a.m. and watch this shit. No such thing as KO, is there?
Luckily, all the games are on at midday over here.
Okay, I'll just be unemployed and watch those. An
mean-
easy solution.
It's not too far from the reality as it is. But Luke Longley was the first Australian to go to the National Basketball Association, the biggest league in basketball in the world. He grew up in Fremantle. His father, Rick Longley, played basketball for Australia.
Good pedigree.
Great pedigree. I mean, his dad was 6'10", his mum was 6'4", so he was always going to be a huge unit.
Huge unit.
A huge net.
A huge net. And all three of his brothers are huge nets.
I know, yeah. So they had a shot of like the three of them going to a cafe, and one of them was on crutches. I was like, did you get tendinitis at the age of 40, dude?
He's just too tall, bro. He's just like, yep, I need to lean a little bit so I can fit through a doorway.
I need 4 extra limbs I can walk on.
Yeah. These 2 fleshy ones aren't doing it. Give me 2 metal ones.
I need to devolve from bipedal.
Yeah, I need to go backwards on the evolutionary chain for a second.
Is that
too big?
Is that quadpedal?
I think so.
Quipedal? Quasipedal?
Quasimodo-pedal.
Quasipedi? That's something else.
The point is they're big boys.
They are big boys.
They're units. But I think he's the... Sorry, what do you want to research?
If you'd like to know what a 4-legged animal is called, jump onto our Patreon.
Is that what you're trying to figure out? Okay, so a quadpedal is a 4-legged animal.
I guess.
That's what we're trying to find out, at least.
If you know, send us a DM, because we are half-wits.
I wish we had young Jamie at this point. Where is our researcher?
People are just cringing, just like, it's just a fucking... It's this.
Get past this. You're wrong, and I want to hear about Luke Longley. Luke Longlegs. That's what a 4-legged animal is called. Long legs. Luke Longley.
Yep. But Longley grew up as a quiet kid. His parents were kind of hippies. They lived the alternative life. Dad was an architect, but they encouraged their kids into doing creative things. So Luke wanted to become an architect when he was younger. Never really saw himself becoming a basketball player, let alone a world athlete.
Yeah, no, he more or less fell into it. He was more interested. He wanted to be an underwater architect.
Yep.
Is that just like working on the helm of boats? Like on the underside of boats? Boat boy, can you help us out here?
Oil rigs.
Okay.
I would imagine
Okay.
town planning for cities that are close to the water.
Atlantis, things like that.
Yep.
Did anyone tell him that city isn't
Atlantis.
real? That was your dream, Luke?
Yeah, he was actually, he worked on the set of Star Wars Phantom Menace. He helped build the Gungan city on Naboo.
He was hanging out with Jar Jar. Honestly, the timeline works. Phantom Menace came out only a few years after Longley was dreaming of underwater architecture.
Is that why the CGI was so piss poor? Is because he jumped off the project to go play basketball?
Yeah, I think so. They lost their best talent.
Checks out.
So I just wish someone told Luke that underwater architecture isn't a real job. You can't live underwater, bro.
Oh, I wish I could. I wish I had the heart to tell him, but he's just so tall.
He's just so tall.
I feel like he'd just step on me if I disappointed him.
He'll fall into something else that's real. Don't worry.
If he cried, his tears would crush me.
His parents are just like suggesting it, like maybe basketball or something that actually exists and leans itself to your stature.
It's funny because I'm nowhere near the stature that Luke is. He's 8 inches taller than me, but. Yeah, that's right. But
he's 7'2".
7'2". I'm 6'4". You're what, 6? 5'8".
Fuck off. It's going down. You're a freak and I'm a regular height. Sorry, bro.
All right, mate. All right, size 9 foot.
UK 9.
Old best for less kids section over here.
We were talking about buying footy studs just earlier. Jake's like, you probably pick up a nice pair of like kids boots for like $50.
Yeah, like $11, man.
Excuse me?
You know how they make like those baby type of shoes? Like they make adult shoes, but in baby sizes.
Yeah, I know what that is. Yeah. I'm saying I don't need
We
them.
all know what that is.
The point isn't I don't get it. It's I don't agree with you.
Okay. All right.
Right.
Someone needs a little time out.
Little baby feet over here is getting... Just because I called your feet big on a meeting last week doesn't mean you have to call mine small.
But back to my point is that... At certain points in my life, because I was one of the slightly taller kids for my age bracket, there was always the question of like, oh, geez, you're tall, Jake. You're getting taller every year. Are you playing basketball? And I was like, no, I play volleyball.
Oh, cool. The shit sport that no one likes.
Hey.
The one there's no future in.
I'm sure we were all watching the beach volleyball very closely during the Olympics.
Yeah, you don't look anything like those people that we're watching on screen.
You haven't seen me in a bikini, mate.
Okay.
You ain't seen nothing
I was
yet.
going to say, you wouldn't have to wax yourself. You're fucking hairless anyway.
I'm alopecia from the neck down, brother.
Jacob without his shirt on is a beautiful physique, but just I'd like a little bit of carpet
Turn
on
it up. Turn it up. Just because I don't look like a fucking rug, mate. We got Beard Boy McChildfoot over here and Bald Giant Slug on the other end.
Pick your poison, whichever one you like. Did you play basketball at all as a kid?
No, not at all.
You want to ask me?
Did you play basketball?
Oh, what? Yeah, I did.
You did? Oh!
Yeah, I actually did.
But you wanted to play it. It's not like someone was like, "Oh, Tom, you're so tall." And
Yeah, I wasn't.
your
a
parents have got you on a steady diet of protein.
Yeah, reared on a steady diet of growth hormones.
Where I was just drinking like 2 liters of milk a day.
Yeah, just fucking growing outwards, not upwards.
Hey.
Easy.
I will belly slam you right now, man.
I know what I'm terrified.
I will kung fu panda you and skadoosh you across the room.
I wasn't a tall. I wasn't short or tall as a kid. I was just like normal. So, but at that age, height isn't a massive advantage, you know, unless you're like a freak.
Yeah.
But
Unless you're Luke Longley.
Yeah, I played for a good couple of years.
Yeah.
I was all right. I still go down and play a bit of pickup every now and then. We should play sometime.
We should. I
you
mean,
any
I've got shit ankles. No, I'm pretty uncoordinated.
Okay.
I'll see you on the footy field though.
Yeah, okay. So you watch way more basketball than you play.
Love it. I think that goes for most sports. Is that I love sports. I love watching them. Wasn't the best at playing them growing up.
So you're not me. Watch heaps of sports and the best at all of them.
Okay.
The best at every single one.
You're built like a sick child, so I don't think you were that good at sport.
Prop forward. The next Payne Haas for the Broncos.
Turn it up, sir.
I'll show you tomorrow on the footy field.
Please do. But basically, my point was that Luke built a career off being basically shoehorned into playing a sport that he wasn't really that interested in. And he speaks about it. He was like, yeah, look, I wasn't really that interested in it. At 16, he...
16, I discovered underwater cities aren't real. So.
Yeah, pretty much. It's like, all
Someone
right,
told me Santa's fake and Atlantis never happened.
I may as well go with this fucking bouncing orange ball bullshit.
Put a thing in a ring. Shit. Sounds as exciting.
Yeah, righto. I mean, how much money can I make playing it?
Excuse me?
Eyes turn into dollar signs. But yeah, he at 16 he gets invited to go to the AIS, the Australian Institute of Sport in Canberra. He joins another fellow Aussie by the name of Andrew Vlahov, and they go on a tour to go play to try out for the New Mexico college team. And collegiate sports are massive in America. They're basically they're televised as much as like actual professional sports.
Puts us to shame, doesn't it?
It does, yeah. I mean, you're comparing 320 million people to 25.
It's true. It's just crazy to see like the fucking Griffith Uni Bears versus the QUT Spiders.
Is that their names?
And it's like over there's 60,000 people packed in a stadium
For
to
sure.
watch some college kids go at it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Over here, it's like we can't do that for our fucking professional sports.
They're
top grade.
international superstars at the age of 18, 3 years before they can even legally drink or vote.
Psycho shit.
And so Longley gets invited to play or to study on a scholarship at the University of New Mexico, and he does. This long, lanky kid at 7 foot at the age of 18 with a long, flowing red mullet. He was the epitome of the 90s.
Yeah, everyone loved him. Came on the scene. He's Australian. This big, long red mullet. He's just they describe him as a breath of fresh air to come into the NBA.
For sure, yeah. Into college, and then he got drafted into the NBA. He went 7th overall. So that they draft 60 players. There's probably like a couple 100 to 300 players in the whole country who are eligible to go into the draft. He was lucky enough to get drafted 7th, went on $1 million contract to Minnesota.
At what age?
This would have been 18, maybe 19, maybe. I think he played maybe 2 years in college, so he might have been like 20.
Yeah, okay. $1 million a year for a teenager.
It was $1 million signing contract, and he would have probably been getting a couple mil a year.
Oh, really?
Or maybe
the $1 million is a bonus to get signed.
I'm pretty sure because he was.
And then you go into your contractual.
Because basically the first 14 players are what's called a lottery pick. So if you're in the top 14, you're considered part of the lottery.
Right.
And going down from number 1, you're given a bonus as to what you pick. So number 1 gets like 5 million, and then 7, like it goes down from there. And pick number 7 gets $1 million signing bonus. So he was a millionaire by the age of 19, 20.
Does the club pay that money, or does the NBA pay that money?
The club pays him.
The club pays him.
Yeah.
That $1 million signing bonus.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
So the franchises, the organizations are all in control of the salaries.
Should I be calling NBA teams clubs like I do for footy, or is
You
that
can. It does, like what
do you say, franchise?
you can call them basketball. You can call them basketball teams usually.
Okay,
teams is
team.
probably is like a more common term. You wouldn't hear them saying clubs if for any sport apart from maybe soccer over there.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
They say teams.
Okay. This is me expanding my knowledge. You know, I'm just trying to figure out how anything works outside the world of the NRL.
So you're someone who's looking to get educated on it more. I have had an unhealthy obsession with basketball for probably the past 8 years, 9 years. Yep.
So this is a perfect dynamic right now.
Correct. Yep.
Either our whole audience is sitting there going, "Tom, you're a fucking idiot. How don't you already know that?"
Or people going, "Nerd,
Yeah.
you big-footed bald fuck nerd.
You can't even play it. You fucking. You're tall. You didn't play the thing you love.
You break your ankle every time you go out for a rebound." True story.
True. I'd love to. Did someone break your ankles like with an ankle breaker, or you just came down hard on your
No,
ankle?
this is another off tangent story, but like friends of the show went basketballing with Keith actually.
Oh, Slimcock.
Yeah, Slimcock and
Slimmest
I
cock of all.
and a couple of others went down to the basketball courts out in Stafford, and Keith put up a shot. This was literally just us walking onto the court. I went up for a rebound and jumped okay, but then just forgot how to land, and like
Didn't stick it.
the sound like just my ankle popping. All the air escaping my ankle and
That
like
sucks.
just completely popped it. And this is a week before we were meant to go to Queenstown for snowboarding.
Oh,
So I was on the flight with crutches.
did you snowboard still?
No, God, no, I couldn't walk.
All the boys were out snowboarding. And
They
you
were all out
just
snowboarding, and I was
drinking in the hotel.
I was
room.
drinking in the hotel room overlooking Queenstown mountains, reading World War Z.
That sucks. Pick a better book.
I was 19.
There's no one saying I wanted Brad Pitt books.
God
What do you
help
want
me.
from That's awful. I didn't know that.
Yeah, but
Did
still
you-
had a good time.
Did they get back at night and then you all hit it?
Yeah, there was plenty of stuff to do. I mean, this is completely off topic, but yeah, we were able to do other stuff. Like I was able to walk around town, limp around town, and then when the boys got home in the afternoon, we would either we'd go out drinking, go grab dinner, and then some days when they weren't going snowboarding, we'd go do other stuff. Like we did speedboating. We went on like a luge.
I know what you mean, though. When I was in Queenstown, also continuing to be completely off topic,
Please.
but there was a day where I just didn't feel like going back out on the slopes. Like I enjoy snowboarding. Was spent a fair bit of time on my ass. Like I wasn't a fucking pro or anything. And one day I was just like, my tailbone can't take another day of this.
It sucks, hey.
Yeah.
You're either getting winded or getting your ass blown in.
Yeah, like if it's icy
Sounds
as
like
well.
something else, but
Wasn't doing that.
all right.
But no, one day I just didn't want to go snowboarding, even though I'd pay for it. I just like went to a bar by myself during the day and was just like, this is like, it was open air. The scenery was gorgeous. I
It's
was
a
like out on
beautiful
this
town.
deck. It's enough to just like go hang out in Queenstown in the scenery for a day.
Yep, you don't need to talk to
gorgeous.
anyone. You can just absorb. Like it's beautiful, crisp air. You're looking at the mountains the whole
It's
time.
the crispest air, isn't it?
I did. Yeah.
It's such fresh air. Yeah.
But yes, back onto the NBA draft. He played in Minnesota, and just couldn't. His game didn't translate from college, where he was somewhat of a very, very good player, bordering on star in college, to the point coming into Minnesota where he just wasn't. It just wasn't coming along, and the fans were seeing him as this big, clumsy ginger git. And it's like, we're giving how much money to this 7'2" plank of wood?
Yeah, bruh. Where's your grit?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Where's your bloody ticker, mate?
Yeah, well, also like, fuck, way to put Australia on the map. Like, we're not all soft cocks, Longley.
Come on, mate.
What's the fucking mullet say about you? You're supposed to have character, chief.
You're gonna start World War III with how soft you are, mate.
Fucking those red curls aren't doing you any favors.
But thankfully, it didn't last for long.
Because he turned the fuck up.
He turned up after he was traded to the Chicago Bulls, who we alluded to earlier. Chicago Bulls at the time were coached by the man, if you have seen The Last Dance, you know what I'm talking about, or if you're a fan of basketball, you know the name Phil Jackson.
The great Phil Jackson.
The great Phil Jackson, and that's no hyperbole. He was known as possibly one of the greatest coaches in any sport ever. He was known as the Zen Master. Not only won 11 championships as a coach, he won a championship as a player. He was a winner, but on top of that, he was called the Zen Master because he knew how to talk to different people, personalities. He knew how to get the best out of his athletes.
Yeah, he goes into that at one point in this where he talks specifically how he handled Luke Longley as a player.
Mm-hmm.
And he was like, with Luke, you couldn't tell him what to do because if you told him, he would resist.
Mm-hmm.
He was like a rebel at heart.
Yep.
So you had to kind of approach and be like, Luke, you've got to tell yourself that you can do this. Kind of get him to want to do it himself. And I was just like, man, that is a good coach.
Mm-hmm.
That is a good leader and a people manager, someone who, because he must have that story for every single player he's ever coached.
100%.
You know, I'm sure a lot of them end up being the same, but it's a difference between standing up in front of a classroom or a locker room full of players and going, all right, everyone's going to do this. It's like going around and having an individual approach and recognizing what makes every single player tick as an individual is, you have to have the highest emotional intelligence ever.
Correct.
And such
a brilliant mind.
Such a brilliant mind, yeah.
What he would do for Michael Jordan, and in later years, he also coached Kobe Bryant to his 5 championships.
Wow.
So
Hectic.
what he would do for those guys, that personality of calling you out and knowing that they'd fight back. If he tried to call out Luke Longley, he would wilt like spinach in the pan.
Yep.
So using himself and going, Luke, you've got to talk to yourself, and basically using the carrot instead of the stick.
Yeah. Yeah. Softly.
Exactly right. And Luke was traded to the Chicago Bulls at an interesting time. They go into in this Australian story. This was halfway through the reign of the Chicago Bulls of the 90s. So at that point in time, Michael Jordan had just come off his first three-peat. He'd won 3 championships in a row. Nicknamed Black Jesus, he was known as the greatest basketball player of all time. He lost his father. I'm not sure if it was to cancer, but he lost his father. It
was that psycho. It was that car wreck or something.
It was a car collision.
Carjacking or a car wreck. They went into The Last Dance.
That's
right. It wasn't a normal death.
It was a freak accident.
Yeah.
And Michael Jordan ends up winning his 3rd championship in a row on Father's Day. Overcome with emotion, he retires and decides to go try out baseball of all sports.
Word.
Yep. Tried to become the rare duo athlete.
Yeah. Has anyone gone from basketball to baseball other than MJ?
From basketball to baseball?
Yeah.
No.
There can't be that many transferable skills there.
He basically he met the same fate as and most athletes do, unless it's like from rugby league to rugby union.
Yeah.
Met the same fate as what Jarryd Hayne met when he was trying to go from NRL to NFL.
Yeah.
Which it's like, I mean, that's a very piss poor example comparing Jarryd Hayne to possibly the greatest athlete that ever lived.
But yeah, it's why would that work? You know, but like you can almost understand. I mean, NRL to NFL is like a closer stretch than fucking basketball to baseball.
Completely different sports, different fundamentals, and they talk about it in The Last Dance where MJ had to completely redefine his body, like his body composition, the way his muscles were built. He had to completely break himself down and build himself back up to try and play baseball. And even the greatest basketball player of all time is not going to become clearly a professional and MLB player.
Was he even good enough to kind of, play with the big boys?
He never played major league. He got into what's called, I believe he played minor league, which is like the division below.
Okay, so he didn't mix it with the best.
I think he might have trained with like I think it was the Chicago White Sox he was with.
Because surely the team that you're playing for are like, put MJ on the field just for ticket sales.
Just for ticket sales, yeah.
For promo, like.
I think it was, but it's also like it's the American pastime. So like they're not just going to throw you out there just because you're a bloody name.
Yeah.
You need to be...
You'd be on all the posters, but you might not fucking be able to, mix it with the best.
And imagine like if he did end up playing for, for the major teams or in the World Series, which is like their finals, then it would have ended with bad publicity for that team because it's like you're putting this guy out there. Yes, he's a name. Yes, he'll draw the crowd, but he can't fucking play.
Yeah, it's good. Pure commercial signing. And you're not going to say no to him, but yeah, you're not going to put him in with the best baseball players in the world in the playoffs either.
Exactly right.
Is that what you call baseball finals?
Well, so the World's, I think it's the playoffs and then the World Series. Oh no, I think the World Series is like, so they go on like bracket rounds.
Okay. But yeah, you're going to get smoked.
Yep.
The best basketballer in the world is the best basketballer in the world, not the best baseballer in the world.
Correct. If you grade a fish on its ability to climb a tree, it's going to think it's a moron.
Exactly fucking right. Pretty good swimmer. Not great in...
Said by Andrew O'Keefe, I believe, one of the great world leaders.
The man himself. And then he said something very different.
Not where I'm from.
Not where I'm from.
Michael. But yeah, whilst this whole circus is going on, the Chicago Bulls made a trade for a big, lanky, ginger bloke from Fremantle.
Luke Longley.
And about a year and a half into his career with the Bulls, about give or take, a public letter goes out to say, MJ says, I'm back.
Yep.
And he goes straight back to his team, the Chicago Bulls.
Imagine being that kid. How old did he was maybe 22, 23 years old at that point?
About that, yeah.
Signing to the Bulls and you're like, sick. I'm at the Bulls. It's Chicago. Great team. Coming off the back of, was it the Tennessee? What was it?
Minnesota.
Sorry, the Minnesota Timberwolves.
Right.
You're like, great, I'll go to the Bulls. And then a year or a year and a half later, it's like, oh, and you'll be playing with Michael Jordan. You're like, what?
You'd be gobsmacked.
That'd be hectic. You'd be like, I'm about to fucking win a ring.
Yeah,
probably.
I mean, but he'd also would have heard the stories from his teammates. So one part of his mind would have been like, I'm so excited to play with this larger than life character, this phenom of a superstar in every sense of the word. But also, I've got to play with this absolute maniac of a human being.
Yeah, and that's their relationship really does grow into a purely professional one. After Michael gets back, I mean, notoriously, and if you've seen The Last Dance, you know this, Michael was a tyrant on the court and off the court at training with his players, pushing his players to be as good as him.
Dare I say, a heinous man on the court.
Good working. We said we're going to use the word heinous in this episode, and it's been done.
It has. Not quite organically. I mean,
there could have been a better opportunity.
Yeah, it could have been more relevant, but you know what?
What did you say? A heinous man.
Yeah, heinous leader.
Heinous leader. He said some heinous things to his teammates, I'm sure.
He did. He was, he ruled by what he called tough love.
Yeah, he was just he was a psycho, and I mean, it created a championship team, and you can't argue that it was bad for business or bad for competitiveness, because they wouldn't have fucking won without him. But the compromise that you have there and the sacrifice that MJ made was the players didn't like being around him. He was like another mean coach or mean dad on the court, like bullying them into perfection.
Yep, 100%. It's very much like a going to try out a new metaphor for a run, but very much like a coal or a limestone situation. And if you put limestone under pressure, it will crumble. So those teammates would not have made it with MJ. You put coal under pressure, they turn into diamonds, and that's clearly what happened with Longley, where put under the right sort of pressure, he became a 3-time champion with MJ. Weren't exactly friends, weren't chums at the end of the day, but can't say no to 3 world championship rings. Yeah, and Luke became really close with other players on the team, which was Steve Kerr. He was really close with Scottie Pippen.
They formed a really nice bond, and you can tell by the way they talk about each other. Huge that Australian Story got interviews with Steve Kerr, Scottie Pippen,
Michael Jordan,
and Phil Jackson. Like for a little fucking ABC production, that's massive.
Huge.
Supposedly, I was just talking a little bit off track, but I was talking to Dad about this. Michael Jackson was approached to do this.
Jordan or Jackson?
What did I say?
Michael Jackson.
Michael Jordan was approached to do this.
You gotta beat him, beat him, beat him, beat him. We gotta win the championship.
No one likes to lose or defeated. or just be defeated. Regular lyrics.
Defeated.
Michael Jordan, Black Jesus, not White Jesus.
Ooh, controversial.
His management was contacted to sit down for this, and they were like, "Oh, little fucking Australian story, ABC production."
That's cute.
Absolutely not.
Yeah.
This guy's got 10 Nike ads to do that night. He's not sitting down with Australian story. Haven't heard of the ABC. And then he didn't do it for a while, and then Luke reached out to MJ directly and was like, "Hey man, did you want to do this thing?" Because MJ wouldn't have even heard of it. I'm sure the management it didn't get past them and down to MJ. And Luke reached out to MJ and he was like, "Yeah man, of course I'll do it." After they reached out personally. And they asked him that in the show as well. They're like, "Michael, why you're an insanely busy man. Why did you sit down and do this?" And he was like, again, the way that they talk about each other's relationship is like, we weren't friends. We didn't do the barbecues together like the rest of the team did. Michael excluded himself from that because he was like, I'm willing to not be liked to win.
I know my formula works. We don't know if any other one does.
Yeah, I'm not going to be the most popular guy at the party or catch up with the family and the kids on the weekend, but I will be respected and I will drag all these guys up to my level. And that's a sacrifice I'm willing to make.
You shouldn't be best buds with a war general.
Exactly. But then Michael at the end of it is like, man, Luke Longley means a lot to me. It's really sweet. He's like, if I was to do it all again, I would 100% have Luke next to me the whole time.
Every time.
Every time. And it's like, fuck, to have Michael Jordan say that about you, how many fucking people can say that?
The praise doesn't get much higher from that, especially from like someone like that, as you said, a tyrant who very rarely shares compliments.
Yeah, he didn't have many nice things to say about many people, even in The Last Dance. And you can just tell he means it. And they've got, watch this fucking Australian story, by the way, if we haven't said yet. Like, I loved this.
It's all on ABC iView. It's a 2-part series.
Yeah, this was so good. And I'm not even that big of a basketball fan. Like, I enjoyed this more than The Last Dance, just because that was over fucking 10 episodes.
It was an epic.
Yeah, it was an epic. And this is kind of a domestic little Australian, it's like our little insight into the biggest stage on earth, you know, little Australia on the big dance.
It's kind of a metaphor for the two personalities. The Last Dance is very much MJ, the Rolls Royce of basketball players. It's flashing lights. It's the celebrity, the fame, the
sexy.
phenom. It's sexy. The cult of personality that he is.
It's Netflix.
It's Netflix, and then you've got which we don't know what that is anyway.
Yeah.
And then you've got just a little battler Australian story, little two-piece doco about our old mate Luke.
On the ABC.
Who lives down in Denmark, Western Australia. He's got his own little hobby farm.
Yeah, he's 7'2", but, you know, we're on the Australian Broadcast Corporation.
He's tall, but don't hold him against him.
He's not all bad. Don't believe what they say about
just
him.
because he'll crush your doorway just by walking through it.
He might need a custom bed and a custom car just to sit in, but he's a good bloke. He's got character.
He's all right.
But just when Michael's saying that at the end and he's kind of giving his final sign-off and his character summation of Luke and how much he meant to him, they've got footage of Luke watching it on his iPhone and he almost chokes up watching. He's like, fuck. Like, I don't think he knew that Michael thought so highly of him. He probably didn't.
He probably didn't know because 2 points on that is like the only time that Michael gave him praise was halfway through a game when Luke had dominated the first half. They were up 16 and Luke had 13 points, 4 rebounds, 4 blocks. So as a big man, that's, a very good stat line in probably, 20 minutes of play.
Yeah.
And Michael's like, you need to fucking do that every half. That was sick, man. And then he finished the game with the same amount of points, rebounds, and blocks.
Yeah.
And they lost by 15. So a 31-point swing.
Yeah.
And MJ was like, that's the last time I ever compliment you. And to add even more controversy on top of that was the only time he complimented him. But then Luke was pretty much left out of the filming of The Last Dance.
Yeah. And they cover that in this as well. This thing was fucking great. Like, everything was so interesting. They spend a good 10 minutes on the impact that The Last Dance on Netflix coming out and him being left out of it actually had on him as a person. He was like, I thought I'd gotten away from it all. When I retired, I walked away from basketball and I just got away from the limelight and the phone stopped ringing and I just went and lived my quiet little life. And
he didn't have to have the alias of Norman Gunston anymore.
Yeah, Norman Gunston and sneak through the kitchens to get into hotels. Could have chosen any name in the world, by the way, as an alias. He's like I'm going to be Norman.
He looks like a Norm.
He chose the next name that like he would have got if he looks like a Norman Gunston.
He does look like a big Minnesota, just a giant Paul Bunyan type dude.
Yarp.
Oh yeah, I like to bounce the ball.
Bounce the ball. I'm Norman. What do you want from me? I'm Norman. It's like, of course he chose that name. No one would have questioned it when he said it.
Everyone's like, oh my God, is that Norman Gunston? Sorry, I want your autograph.
Oh, it's just Luke Longley. Oh, don't worry.
All right, false alarm.
Thought it was Norman. Thought it was Norman Gunston.
Ah, damn it.
Almost got my camera out. Put it away.
I thought it was Paul Bunyan's bastard son.
Norman Gunston, the son of Paul Bunyan. Did I have a point there that I was getting at? What was I saying?
We were talking about how,
The Last Dance.
Yeah, The Last Dance.
Sorry. He thought he got away from it all, and then when The Last Dance came back out and he was left out of it, the phone started blowing the fuck up again. And this is like last year or 2 years ago.
Yeah, this is 2020.
Yeah, so last year. So he's well and truly retired, and he's like, holy shit, now he had to change his number, and people were all over him again. And he was like, fuck, I just wanted to be, like, I wanted to be in the documentary, and I thought it was strange that I wasn't in there at all. But also, I don't need all of this media attention. And now that the Chicago Bulls and Michael Jordan are on everyone's lips again because The Last Dance was enormous, everyone wants a piece of me again.
Absolutely, yeah. It's you very much get a sense, a feeling that this bloke is just this quiet, reserved, introverted, seemingly quite intelligent bloke.
Yeah.
Like but very soft-hearted.
Yeah.
Like he just wanted to be away. He wanted to be away from the limelight. He just wanted, and you see it now. He lives present day in a hobby farm out of rural Western Australia.
Just planting tomatoes and
planting chilies. Just going for a swim down to the beach.
Yeah, and just on The Last Dance, like I understand they can't include every player.
Yep.
In the team, and I imagine there's a handful of other players that weren't in there as well. So it's a tough one. I don't like. Well, I mean, it's like you said, 5 players on the court at one time. Pretty sure I remember like Steve Kerr, Scottie Pippen, MJ. Who else would be on that?
John Paxson was in the interview.
Was he in the last?
Dennis Rodman was obviously in the interview.
So maybe it is. Why didn't they fucking put him in it?
It's very strange. There's probably more to the story than we know.
They said he was far away. He's in Australia. He was hard to get to.
Yes, I mean it was released in the middle of COVID, but they would have been filming this shit in like 2019.
That's a cop out to be like, he's in Australia.
Yeah,
he was hard to get to. It's like a Skype interview, bruh.
Yeah, you could either Skype it or do it when you were really filming it in 2019 before the world went into shutdown mode.
And if Australian Story can do the opposite quite well and go and get interviews with MJ and Scottie Pippen and Steve Kerr
in the middle of COVID,
yeah, pretty sure you can fucking come down and shoot a piece on Longley.
Yeah, I think I smell bullshit.
I think something's going on,
especially with the fact, to put it in perspective. If you're, I mean, for the big basketball fans out there, you would know this, but Luke Longley was the starting. They went into it multiple times. He was the starting center, the biggest guy on the court in the 1990s for that team, for the greatest team there was. He was going up, and it was during the era when it was big man dominated. So he was going up against, you know the name Shaquille O'Neal?
Yeah, of course.
He was the guy guarding him every night. He was also
mixed it with Shaq.
Shaq. Another name you may not know, Hakeem the Dream. Hakeem Olajuwon, who a lot of people would argue is the greatest center of all time.
Right.
Better than Shaq.
Right.
But he was another dominant force. There was Patrick Ewing, Charles Barkley, Chris Webber. There was all these big men that he was going up against because it was a big dominated league at that point in time. And that's what I mean, to go back onto MJ, that's why it was so perplexing to see a guard dominate, the league. It was because it was a center dominated league. It was for the big boys.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, you had this bloke from Fremantle
who
was holding down the fort for you on that end of the court.
Yeah. Psycho. And then just got again, such an integral cog in that wheel. And to just not get any shout out, it's like, oh? He wasn't too fussed about it. He was like, would have been great to be in there, but he's only just come out and done this Australian story after The Last Dance came out because
his story wasn't told.
And basketball has just kind of recently become part of his life again, and now he's like ready to talk about it. And I think maybe he felt like my story wasn't told. Like, for sure.
Yeah. I mean, he fell out of love for the game. So after going through a tumultuous he won 3 championships with the Bulls, 96 to 98. And then after that, he played a couple more years in the NBA. He got offered a huge 5-year deal at the age of 30, but his ankle gave out about a year later.
Yeah.
Went from Phoenix to New York, and then just the doctor said, your ankle's bone on bone. Like, you shouldn't be playing right now.
Can't believe you're running on it.
Yeah, can't believe you're running on it. And at that point, he had fallen out of love with the game. He almost sunk into like a post-championship depression where he reached the pinnacle of the sport, and he never got to experience that level of competitiveness and camaraderie ever again.
Yeah. How can you go from the greatest team of all time to this enormous high, 3 chips in a row, to then who did he go to?
Phoenix
Suns.
Arizona, yeah.
And it's like players like Luke Longley wouldn't be as good as they are without a Michael Jordan next to them, bringing that out of them. So,
and he makes that very clear. He's like, I knew that I was a role player. I wasn't the superstar. We had 3 rock stars on the team: Jordan, Pippen, and Rodman.
yeah, I was down here.
Yeah.
And he says when he looks at the rings, he goes, look at these 3 rings here. He goes, players, he's still got them in his house in a little box. People will play their whole lives and not get one, and I've got 3 of them. And he goes, thank you, Michael. He goes, I couldn't have had none of them I would have without him.
This is definitely thanks to Michael Jordan.
Yeah. So to go somewhere afterwards without him would be like, the only success he's ever had is with Michael Jordan. The only success he's ever had. So then he has to go and do it elsewhere without the greatest player in the world next to him.
It's Ringo Starr without Paul McCartney and John Lennon.
Yeah. And he's very self-aware about it. Like, this isn't us bashing him at all. He knows this as much as everyone else does. But of course you're going to fall from grace and be depressed, and you're playing for the Phoenix Suns. Like,
Yeah. No offense to the Phoenix Suns.
just haven't heard of him as much as the Chicago Bulls as a non-basketball guy.
They were in the NBA Finals this year, but you don't
Shows
really
how
watch.
much I know.
Don't really watch the sports. That's fine, but
He retires at 31. Well, he gets given that big contract at
30
at what team?
Phoenix,
At Phoenix. Oh, so that was he gets given that, but then
and then he gets traded to New York.
Gets traded to New York on a 5-year deal worth like how much money?
$45 million.
$45 million.
Huge money in the late 90s for an aging center.
Yeah, like a stupid deal from the club's perspective, if I can call them that.
Sure.
The franchise's perspective. And they honor that. Obviously, they have to pay that contract out. It's a contract, so he can't play anymore. He retires, and then he gets paid out $45 million for not playing basketball anymore. And he just, goes back to Australia, lives a life, at 31, he's retired, and his brother's saying, like, that sounds on paper like the dream. You know, everyone wants to retire early and live their life, but he goes, not all of your mates are working. Who are you spending that time with?
You fall into a depressed state because you don't have the passion that you once had, your purpose.
Yeah.
And now it's just you're left with nothing but time.
Yeah, nothing but time. And he did struggle to find his purpose afterwards. And like, I can't imagine retiring at 31 and then just going, all right, I've done things that people could only dream of. I've done incredible things before I'm 30.
Yep.
I'm retired now. I've got nothing left to prove to the world. What do I do with the next 60 years of my life?
Correct. Yeah. It's
A weird kind of depression, you know?
from the common man's perspective, where we're all still battling and we'll probably, keep working until the time we're 65, 70.
Yeah.
It does sound like a really nice problem to have, to go, you've got oodles of cash. You can basically do whatever you want at the age of 31.
Yeah.
But it also you'd feel like one of
Lost?
lost. One of our favorite podcasts talks about it, where it's like it's a very unempathetic situation to be in, where you're a millionaire, but you're depressed because you've got nothing else. You've got no drive. There's nothing else that you really want to achieve. You don't have a fire, and like trying to find that next step in your life is difficult.
And how isolating would that be as well?
Yeah.
That is a unique problem. Like, who else in the world is you can't talk to anyone about that. If you do, you sound like a whinger.
Yeah, exactly right. If I came to you and I was like, and I just won the lotto and I'd been living in, my $1 million mansion in fucking Sunshine Coast hinterland, that's the retirement dream.
Yeah.
But if I did and I came to you, I was like, man, I'm just so depressed. I've just got all this money. I don't know what to do.
Yeah.
You'd be like, must be nice.
Yeah, must be nice.
Must be very nice.
Sorry, can you call me back? I'm actually at work right now.
Yeah, sorry, I'm shoveling shit.
Yeah. on fucking minimum wage, bruh.
And you're like,
enjoy your 3 rings.
I'm like, no worries, I'll call you when you've got off the shift as my butler.
You're calling me as I'm shining your shoes.
I'm
Hey, you down there.
I'm your doorman, not your therapist. Fuck off.
I'm not your mate either. Don't think we're getting beers after this.
Master Wayne and Alfred never had this. There was a father-son thing going on there, but
Mates don't shine mates' shoes.
no.
Mates don't shine mates' shoes.
I'm getting that tattoo.
As
Mates don't shine mates' shoes.
As the old adage goes. So yeah, he just would be very, very depressed, and it doesn't come across as whingy or you know, entitled the way that he talks about it. He's very self-aware. He comes across as I didn't know anything about Luke Longley before this, but he comes across as such a like centered, loving, just gentle, lovely dude.
Genuine, yeah, absolutely. This, just the typical, just quiet, creative-minded. He just looks like an Art Deco dad.
Yeah,
like the long curly hair,
Yeah.
the art frame glasses.
Yeah.
He just comes off as this, this introverted guy that never really wanted all that smoke.
Yeah.
And he got forced into a sport because he was tall, and it turned out to be one of the best decisions for him, but also a huge detriment to him because he built up this armor that he talks about throughout the doco of having this strong mentality and having a tough hide so he could deal with the adversity and MJ's abuse and the crowds and all the paparazzi and living the life of a professional athlete. And then over time, from retirement or like the unwinding of his career to his retirement, having to learn to take those armor plates off.
Yeah, let your guard back down.
Correct.
Do you think he would have been holistically happier if he went down I know we memed it, but underwater architecture route and did that? Because he'd still be doing that all the way up until retirement. He wouldn't retire at 31 from underwater architecture and then have all this energy to put to something else.
I think that it's only because he's such a genetically a freak of nature, being 7'2". Like, how many people in Australia are that tall? Probably like less than 1,000.
Yeah.
I think the opportunity was always there for him to play basketball. And I think if he went into that career, he may have been happy, but I think there also would have been that like, oh, what could have been?
Yeah. And the grass is always greener.
Exactly
You would
right.
have been wondering what if.
At least now, like he can maybe like go, oh, if only I'd become an architect. He can still do that.
Yeah.
He can't turn around at 32 after being an architect for 14 years and go, wonder what it's like playing in the NBA.
Wonder what MJ's up to.
Yeah.
Can I call him up?
But on that path, he would never have known him.
Yeah, very true. So I think you're right. He found love for the game again. He's coaching or assistant coaching.
He's coaching, yep.
With the Boomers.
He was assistant coach for the Boomers for a while, and now he's, I think, assistant coach or manager for the Sydney Kings, which is a NBL team, the Australian League.
Which is, nice to see.
Very nice to see.
Because he hated it for a while. He hated it afterwards, I think it just gives him, it's one of those retirement gigs where he's like, I'm just gonna, what does he say? He's like just very assistance. He's there in an assistance capacity. He's not head coach. He's just kind of there, low pressure. He's chilling.
Yeah, and I think
retirement package.
It's very much that where it's not high pressure, but it's also a situation where he's able to give back to the game that gave so much to him.
Yeah,
he's able to give. This thing fucking made him a millionaire and a celebrity, where he was able to do an Australian story.
Yeah.
So this, him becoming a coach is his way of going, okay, now I can give back to the community.
Yeah.
And potentially feed on that that cycle of creating future athletes and stars where they can then do the same thing that I'm in my shoes.
That would have to be fulfilling, hey?
100%.
That would be nice. Think about, we'll wrap this up in a second, but like life after, for professional sports people, it's a age-old thing, life after basketball, life after football.
Yep.
He retired at 31 with, I don't know how much fucking money in the bank, but a lot of fucking money in the bank.
Probably, upwards of 50, 60 million.
Imagine the same problem, but you're an NRL player and you like really don't have that much fucking money.
I mean, yeah, considering the expensive lifestyle they live,
Yeah.
the lack of education that athletes usually get. I mean, it's better nowadays.
Yeah. I mean, lack of education in general with NRL players. Is
Sure.
Fucking,
Yeah.
You're much less likely to go into anything afterwards that isn't like a trade or something.
Yeah, or construction business.
Construction, yeah. But I mean, the problem is universal for sports stars, regardless of the dollar figure, I guess.
It is tough. I mean, it is it is an age-old adage for any professional athlete of like, you've been living your life at the highest of competition. You've been the man or the woman in your chosen field for, if you're lucky, 10, 15 years. Most of them don't even get, that much.
Yeah.
It's deciding what to do with the time afterwards now that you're beaten and bruised and you've built up this warrior's mentality.
You've given everything to this sport.
That's
Now,
why
go and work a desk job.
That's why you see a lot of jumping codes, but why you see a lot of combat athletes like your boxers and UFC fighters and wrestlers. Why you see them fall on their sword? They're these prehistoric characters where they almost like knights of the medieval time where they grew up and all they knew was fighting. And gladiatorial, yeah. And to become that good, you need to learn to live and die by the sword. So you see a lot of fighters fighting well into their late 30s, early 40s. Fucking Mike Tyson just boxed Roy Jones Jr. at the age of 50, 60 a year ago.
Sucks. It sucks. But it's like, what else do you know how to do?
That's
you know
exactly
how to do
it.
one thing.
You know how to do one thing, and that's the one thing you were known for. What are you going to go fucking take up crocheting?
Yeah. What are you going to do? You're going to go fucking start build Luke Longley's chopping wood in this. You're going to chop some wood. Go be a bit of a lumberjack for a while.
Maybe you should start a podcast.
Hey, then you can be just like us.
Just like us.
What about life after podcasting, Jacob? What are we going to do?
Oh, I don't want to think about it, mate. I live and breathe for this stuff.
It's an existence I don't want to imagine or acknowledge.
So, Tom, on our own hopefully not last dance.
Our one giant leap.
Yes, our one giant podcast. What would you rate One Giant Leap, the Australian story about Luke Longley?
I'm going to give One Giant Leap 9 championship rings out of 10.
Oh, I like that.
Straight down the line.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to pick any issues with this. It was interesting throughout. Really nice story about what seems like a really wholesome guy. And honestly, a story that came out of nowhere. As someone who's a fan of basketball, I remember seeing Luke Longley throughout the doco, not really thinking too much about not getting many, shots of him, let alone no recordings of him. So it was really nice to see this, a documentary come out of nowhere. So to jump on your back, I mean, I wouldn't push it as far as a 10. I wouldn't say there's anything wrong with it, but I think a 10 is reserved for something truly special.
Yeah, I agree.
The Australian dream, I think, is a 10.
Yes.
But I would rate this 9 flowing red mullets out of 10.
Red hot.
Red hot.
Yeah, I think 9's such a strong rating. And like you said, I can't think of an imperfection. It was great. It made me, it fucking hit me right there. I was just like, oh my God. I think it's not Bone Tomahawk. It's not Australian Dream.
No.
But it's a 9 out of 10, which is a very strong rating.
We do strongly recommend that you go and watch it. And if you have listened this far on the air tonight, we do thank you so much for joining us this week. If you did enjoy the episode, give us a follow on Instagram, give us a subscription or subscribe on YouTube so you can stay up to date with everything OTAT.
On 3. Actually, not on 3. Just give me an answer. Who's a better basketballer, Paddy Mills or Luke Longley?
Paddy Mills. Paddy Mills is the greatest Australian basketball player that ever lived.
What?
Paddy Mills just brought...
Without 3 rings.
Paddy Mills but Paddy Mills never had Michael Jordan.
That's a good point.
Paddy Mills brought the first Olympic medal to Australia. He's gotten the most international points for Australia. He has his own NBA ring in his own right.
What if Paddy Mills ended his career now, would he still be better than Luke Longley?
Yeah. Okay.
So even without another 2 rings, even with Luke having 3, Paddy having 1.
It's not all about rings, man. Like there's a player who played throughout the early 2000s, throughout the late 90s and 2000s. His name was Robert Horry. Called him Big Shot Bob. Big Shot Bob won 7 championship rings. Is Big Shot Bob better than Michael Jordan?
Haven't heard his name.
There you go. There you go. There's your answer.
Jacob Puryear, over and out.
We'll see you next time.
Take that, basketball weebs.
Yeah, fuck you, Luke.
Don't act like I don't know my shit. Luke, you're not that good. Paddy's better. Give us a Paddy Mills Australian story.